Hi, Rachel. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Mirit?
I am good. Shall we start?
Good. We should start. Yes.
Okay.
Let's
So,
let's
hi.
go for it. All right.
Okay. So, hi, everybody. My name is Mirit Hoffman. I'm an elder law lawyer and a gerontologist, and my main focus is estate planning and elder law, which means preparing wills and enduring power of attorneys and prenups for second marriages and dealing with contracts for people living in housing facilities. And I host discussions called Golden Topics, where we discuss significant crossroads for seniors. And Rachel, you introduce yourself.
Hi there. So I am Rachel Weinstein. I am a licensed clinical social worker. I'm licensed in Israel and in Illinois, and I work with a variety of folks, including senior citizens, people who have elderly parents or older parents, sometimes dealing with health issues. I was a medical social worker back in the day, and also helping people navigate their relationships with their parents because sometimes uh, people have wonderful relationships, and it is an honor for them to be able to care for their parents, and other times it doesn't feel as honorable, shall we say. It's a little harder, and so I help people navigate those very sticky situations too.
Absolutely.
So
And we are welcome you guys to our podcast series called Caring for an
yes,
Aging Parent. I think this is our third time together, right? This is
this is
the
our
third.
third.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah. Very
pretty
cool.
cool.
So what are we
This
going
this
to talk
round of
about
it, yeah.
today,
we've
Rachel?
done, we've done a few podcasts before.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about, excuse me, we're going to be talking about advocacy for your parents in your elderly parents when it comes to either a medical situation or a medical crisis, and how you go about doing that, both from the emotional, the psychological, the familial perspective, and also I'm going to hand the baton over to you when it comes to the legal nitty gritty and how that works, and how when it comes to the paperwork and setting up who's going to be responsible for, I think it's whom, right? There, you definitely have to make sure that you also know where the emotional pieces are, because that's sometimes a bigger part of the process than anything else.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
100% right. Um, well, let's start. You know what? Let's start with a case study. Something that I'm sure a lot of us have to handle as our parents get older. The parents we go with the parent to the doctor, let's say, and
right.
parent is not 100%, finding it more difficult to understand what's going on. The doctor's talking, the parent is less focused, and the child is there to basically make sure that gets all the information, maybe asks more questions. What do you think about that situation? Have you heard about those situations? Have you been in those situations?
Oh, oh boy. Yes. I've been in situations where the patient wants the information, or the children want the information, or somebody who thinks they're related wants the information. The doctor, really just came in to do his or her medical duties and ends up in the middle of a world war. And it can get really, really messy. And I've definitely been in I was in a situation back in the States where I'm going to say this as politically correct as humanly possible, where a gentleman had been very friendly with women other than his spouse and had many other children, and they all met at and around his deathbed. And I was the social worker who got to meet all of them at once, and you could cut the tension and the I don't even know what the other word is. It was painful on many, many levels. And then we all as a team had to figure out who's going to make the decisions, because who's the closest next of kin. But it also happens in, shall we say, no puns intended, slightly more orthodox situations where it's mom and dad and kids, and maybe mom and dad want something done or not done with their care, and that's not communicated to the kids. And then, well, I knew that mom wanted all life sustaining measures. Well, I don't think that's necessary. And the doctor gives a third opinion. And P.S. Poor mom or dad are languishing, and nobody knows what the next move is. So it's great to communicate with your family members and make sure that whatever mom and dad's wishes are written down. And that's, in terms of legal forms. So I'll turn that over to you in a little bit. But I think it's really important, not only for when we're talking about advocacy, not only advocating for your parents when it comes to whatever medical healthcare place they're in, but also helping parents advocate for themselves. It can be an uncomfortable conversation. It can be difficult. I don't think I should say that most people really want to talk about the death of their very, very alive parent, but unfortunately, that is, as my mom, let her rest, used to say, death is a part of life. And we have to have those conversations. If we don't, it makes a sad and painful situation about 1,000 times harder. And nobody needs that when emotions are running high. So first, sitting down with your parents. What do you want? If this happens, you can't go through every possible medical situation. You'd be there forever. But if, let's say, the doctor says, whatever condition you have, there's no recovery from this. It's going to get worse. Or if we do all the treatments possible, you'll end up in more pain. Encourage, open the door for your parents to say, this is what I want and this is what I don't. And if you need to speak to an attorney like you, Mirit, if you need to speak to your rabbi, your clergy, fine. But helping your parents have ownership of what they want to the best of their ability is a very big deal, because then you know how to advocate for them if they, God forbid, can't speak and if they don't have decisional capacity. Um, so the second thing I'll say is that when it comes to if mom or dad are in a hospital or in a nursing home, I've heard people in my personal life and professional life say, well, we trust the doctor. I really thought the days of, well, that's what the doctor said. I really thought they were over, and they're not. And it really, well, terrifies me a little bit. It is great. And I absolutely respect, I don't, I'm not a doctor. The old American commercial. I don't play one on TV either. I respect, you have your skill set and your set of knowledge, and I have mine. And I don't know all the medications and everything, but if your parents can speak for themselves, let them. It is also really important because they may be, whatever the condition they have, be there to hear what's going on. Of course, this all goes with their permission if they do have, decisional capacity. But especially if they don't, ask the doctor, what treatment are you, what's happening? Can you explain it to me? If a doctor doesn't, says to you, I just don't have the time for this, that's great, but this is their patient, but that's your parent. So it's okay to speak up. I'm not saying walk into hospitals and nursing homes and scream at everyone. I'm not advocating that. But I am advocating for letting people know this is my loved one and I would like an answer. I don't need a full medical school explanation. Just, we're doing this on her right leg because this condition causes that. Okay, cool. I understand that. Oh, and what does that medication do? Ask. No, be an informed child, or whatever, your relationship is that you've been designated. Make your presence known. Let people know that you're there. Let people know that you're aware. Let them know that this is a patient who has family or loved ones who are looking out for them, because when you make your presence known, people act a little bit more on top of things. Should we all be on top of things all the time, no matter what? Of course. But in the real world, that doesn't always happen. I've told people also, you know what, if you have someone in a nursing home, um, I don't know if this would quite work in Israel, but I can't imagine why it wouldn't. If there's a holiday coming up, bring cookies. We're not talking about if you give them cookies, then your mom or your dad are going to get better care. No, 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 no. What you're saying is, I appreciate you. And yeah, it doesn't have to be the best cookies in the whole world, but I'm letting you know that, you know what, I thought about you, because people remember that. And that builds relationships. It's not a bribe. It's not a bad thing. You're being kind. But yeah, the message is, I'm being kind, and I really hope you remember that kindness. when I ask you about my mom or my dad. Um, I think it's really important to make sure that your presence is known and that you know what's going on and that you make a team with the medical staff and not just sit back and go, okay, because that's I guess what the doctor said, so it must be right. Find out why. That's a good thing.
I
That's
think
a
it's
very good
really
thing.
important, so important. I just want to say something before I get into the legal stuff. Just on the flip side, I hear sometimes clients that say, just because I'm old doesn't mean that I'm dumb. And if I'm sitting there with
Mm-hmm.
my daughter because I want her to listen in, just because I want two people to listen to the same thing, doesn't mean that the
Mm-hmm.
doctor should not address me. After all, I am the patient and I'm just sitting right there. That's also something that,
Right.
needs to be discussed. And
Right.
somebody said to me something very interesting. She said when she comes in with her mom, she pulls her chair back on purpose and puts her mom much closer to the desk. So just
That's
to
awesome.
show, yeah, to show the doctor who's the patient, who's the person that needs to be really addressed. And she said a few times the doctor would say, okay, this is this diagnosis. And he would approach her and she would say, why are you looking at me? My mom's right here. Talk to her. And I thought that was
That's
really
right.
great.
That's right.
So that's the flip side
That's right.
of being old,
Right.
actually
Right.
aware and wanting to get the attention that the person deserves to get.
Right. And if anyone ever has confusion about, but I'm here for my mom or I'm here for my dad. I'm supposed to be speaking for them. Just imagine being the age that you are, and going to get a blood test, a random standard, just checking everything out blood test. And imagine going with your spouse or your adult child. And imagine the nurse say putting the needle in your arm and telling whoever you're with, what I'm doing now is taking blood from mom. Imagine what you'd feel like. Like, hello, I'm right, lady with the thing in my arm now. That's me. Talk to me.
Absolutely.
I get to decide if you share, whatever. It's not like when you bring a child to the pediatrician. Of course, the doctor should be speaking to mom and dad. At a certain point, though, doctor should also be speaking to child of course, with mom and dad there. But being more needy, unfortunately, does not make you a child. It doesn't make you stupid. It doesn't make your hearing go. It doesn't make you lose brain cells. Respect people where they're at. And if they look different than they used to, that does not mean they can't take in the information. It's if and when they can't, that you need to ask the questions that they would, and you maybe need to ask the questions that they might not. You need to, I don't want to say, walk into a nursing home or a hospital and go, I'm here, give me all the details. Be a mensch, be nice. But when you need to advocate a little bit with a little bit more volume and a little bit more urgency and a little bit more assertiveness, I get it. People don't want to be, I don't want to be pushy. They're doing so much, and that's great, and that's all true. But again, this is all in a day. I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of doctors and nurses and staff that love their patients, but this is their job. This is what they do. This is your parent. No one's gonna be there if you're not. It's just not, it's just not gonna happen. So if you feel bad, I get it. Then you can, come talk to a social worker. But be the mouth. You have to be the
Absolutely.
mouthpiece.
Absolutely.
Yes,
We don't have a lot more to talk, but I want to address the legal side of it. So in
absolutely.
Israel, there's two very important documents that one should prepare in advance in order for their child or loved one, whoever it is that they appoint, to be able to act on their behalf in situations when they're no longer capable of making their own decisions and addressing them. So one of these documents are called an enduring power of attorney. And the enduring power of attorney addresses one's personal issues, one's financial issues, and medical. And that is a document that, again, you prepare in advance. You appoint one person or more people that you trust, really, really important people that you trust that can advocate for your
Mhm.
behalf. And you write in this document instructions exactly how you would like them to handle your affairs. And why is that important?
Mhm.
First of all, is because when you're no longer capable of handling your own affairs and there's something bureaucratic that needs to be done, if you don't have this document, your loved ones are going to have to go and get guardianship over you, which requires a court order and it's not very fun to do. So this sort of bypasses that need. also, this way, you're sort of staying in semi-control because you're making the decisions, you're putting them in writing, and they just have to implement them. So that's really super, super important. The other very important document is called a medical directive. And the medical directive is for end of life medical decisions. For instance, to be put on a respirator, to have a feeding tube put in, or dialysis or chemo or whatever it is, when one is considered to be terminally ill, according to a doctor's medical assessment. And in Israel,
Mm-hmm.
terminally ill means you only have 6 months to live. Again, the idea
Same thing
behind
right.
it, right, the idea
It's the same
behind
thing in the
it,
United States.
right. Oh, is it the same
Mm-hmm.
in the United States as well?
Same thing.
Okay. So the
According to the hospice, the hospice benefit, you're terminally ill if you have 6 months left.
right.
I mean, projected 6 months.
Right. And again, the idea is to try and eliminate family arguments. If everything is clear for them, they know exactly what you want or exactly what you don't want. It makes it further, first of all, makes it much easier for them because they don't have to have the decision on them. They don't have to make these very difficult decisions. And B, because everybody's on the same page and everybody knows exactly what it is that
Age,
you
right.
want, and they don't have, and they're not going to argue about it, and they can just concentrate on doing the best for you. So those are the two documents that are very important to have so that you can advocate for your parent
I
when
wonder
they're
if
not able to.
I wonder if there are, let's say the person is a widow
Right,
and or doesn't have a spouse, and there are children, and let's say mom wrote in her advance directive, in her power of attorney, that if A, B, and C happens, I don't want to be resuscitated.
right,
Right? Let's say that's what it said. And let's say you have one child who says, this is what mom said, I'm the decision maker, mom said, and this is okay, we're gonna let her die peacefully, comfortably,
right.
no CPR, none of that stuff, right? And let's say you have another child who, either for any number of reasons, and you'd be amazed the things that come up. I loved mom. I hated mom. She loved me. She hated me. It's Tuesday. Literally any possible. You always wanted her money. I mean, crazy things come up. This is very real life. What if the other child says, you do everything for her. I don't care what that paper says.
Um,
What happens?
so look, by law, the doctors have to go by the written paper because it's signed in front of two witnesses. It's the legal document. It explains exactly who she wanted to appoint. And I guess she did that for the parent, I mean, and I guess the parent appointed that child for a very good reason, right? Um,
Mhm.
oh, I know that, doctors usually don't want to get into messy situations. They're really not interested in having this like World War III in front of them when they have another hundreds of patients or tens of patients. They haven't slept all night and this is like the end of their shift. Okay. So they'll try,
Right,
a
right,
lot of them, what they do is they go out of the room and say, you know what? Why don't you try and discuss it between yourselves and come to some sort of agreement so that we can do what's best? Sometimes they'll say, you know what, this is what's best for mom. And she had appointed this specific child to make that decision, and therefore by law,
right.
we're going to go with what mom wanted. They
What the
usually do
paperwork said,
that.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, right. I mean, I guess anyone can make anything messier than it needs to be, but um, hopefully if it gets to that level, hopefully a hospital social worker steps in, or a nursing home social worker, but
Yeah.
hopefully um, it's respected. And I do, just last thing, I do think it's very important that if, one child out of however many children, or anybody else is appointed as the decision maker, that the other people in the family should know, so
Oh,
that it's not
absolutely.
a surprise when, Khani, the daughter, is calling all the shots, and, Chaim, the brother, is going, I'm sorry, what's that about? That's also not a situation you want to be in. Everyone should know from the beginning, if this happens, Khani is the one who speaks for mom. Okay. It's in writing. You can all get paper, you can all get copies if you want, but this is the way it is according to mom. It's great if mom can say that, so that no children have to end up, it's hard enough when the situation is happening. We don't need to make it harder.
Absolutely. I
So,
think it's really important. Usually what I usually recommend is that if that is the case, Mom makes it very clear, though, that Hani is the one making the shots, but she's not really. Hani is the person making the shots, um, meaning she's the point of contact for the doctor's point of view. But really, what Mom
Right.
wanted is
Right.
Hani and the other siblings to discuss it together. She has a family
Right.
conversation with them and says, "Listen, I'm putting Hani as the point of contact for the doctor because I'm not expecting him to call all five of you, but." Just so you know, what I want is for you to make a decision together. And also, it's much more, if that is the case, it's better. First of all, you can put more than one person on the document, but also I would write a letter, have it black and white in front of everybody. So everybody reads exactly what Mom wanted. There's no question of you forgot, you didn't remember, you're
Right.
just making it up now. We didn't hear anything like that.
Right.
So Mom
Right.
writing, she wrote a letter and she said, Honey's there, but I really want you to all discuss it. I don't want you arguing, blah, 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 just to make it very clear.
Right. Right. And I keep saying, last thing, but this will really be my last thing, is that sometimes families will say, we all get along. We're such a good family. Like we don't fight, financial things, monetary stuff. I don't care about Mom's gold necklace. I don't care. It's her, we don't need this paperwork. And I'm telling you, you need this paperwork because illness and death bring out a whole other side of folks. I'm not saying that we become werewolves, but you're tired, you're stressed, you're sad, you're grieving, and the closest of families can become fractured over what you might say, from a distance is really a silly thing, but that gold necklace might be so important. It's really important that even if you are the best, most unified family, the family that everyone looks at and goes, oh, we want to be like them. Even that family needs this paperwork. It's called protecting yourself. It's called making sure you stay that really tight, wonderful, beautiful family. Because once it's in writing, it's in writing. Then it can't be, well, Mom really did one time when I was 5 tell me that I could have the pretty, no, no, it's in writing. Mom said this, and that's what we do. End of story.
Absolutely.
Right. Whatever it is. So, um,
Yes, I mean, don't make it easier for lawyers to spend a lot of money in court on your behalf. Make it easier for your parents to just be able to be at peace wherever it is that they are, knowing that you are just going to get along fine because they've sorted it all in advance. Absolutely. I'm a very big advocate for paperwork
right.
and
Right.
legalese everything, as you know.
Right. Right.
Okay,
In
then.
social work, they say
Well,
if it ain't written, it never happened.
absolutely.
Right. And so, right. So in law too. So, okay. So, all right. It was lovely chatting with you again.
Yes,
We'll
it
do
was lovely
this
chatting.
another time.
We can do this for hours, as you know.
Yes. Yes. I'm sure everyone wants to listen to a 500-hour podcast,
Exactly. So
but
we're
we
gonna,
might actually be able to pull it off. Of course, we're
yeah,
going to end here.
no, we're gonna end it here. Don't
So,
get all worried. We're gonna end it here. If you have any questions,
right.
then you can always approach us. Um, our numbers are going to be at the bottom of this discussion. And in the meantime, have a good night. And don't forget to share this conversation with anyone you think would benefit from it. And we're looking forward to seeing you in our next talk of caring for an aging parent. Have a good night.
All righty. Awesome. All right. Take care. Good night.